Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Friday, the 16th of January. Treading water as Tunbridge Wells gets its supply back, locals worry about how future losses could impact their daily lives.
In the last 10 days, really all I've done is water issues.
Out of order. Council-owned accessible toilet left unclean and described as unusable by one disabled resident in Medway.
The worst one I've ever seen is this one here. It hasn't been cleaned out, it's absolutely rotten.
And new year, new me? We find out if residents of Kent have been sticking to their resolutions.
So I think the biggest thing is when people join the gym in January, they're highly motivated because it is January. That motivation is a very fleeting emotion, so it comes and goes.
And for our top story this evening, Tunbridge Wells residents are breathing a sigh of relief today as water has mostly been restored to their taps. It brings an end to 5 dry days for residents there, as well as in patches across Kent and East Sussex, with education facilities, doctors, farms and businesses particularly feeling the stress. And as criticisms reach peak levels for South East Water bosses, we're taking a look at how confident residents feel that the taps will stay on for now. Chloe Brewster has this report.
I thought it was only right to end the week back where we started. It's Tunbridge Wells Rugby Club water bottle station where they're now packing up. Residents here have their water back, but is there trust it will stay that way?
When it comes to the actual transparency, I don't think there is enough. And, you know, as a company, I'm sure they have rights to withhold information, but from just a human point of view, to know if you're going to have water, when you can next have it, and, you know, we're paying for a service. From our point of view, or certainly my point of view, there's been a lot of communication, but it's just fluff.
All it seems that they've done is switched off water in order to enable the reservoir to be filled to a level which is going to make it more sustainable. But as far as I'm aware, that they reached this position back in late December, early January, and one bout of cold weather. And some windy weather in another part of the country was all it took really to destabilise that. So whether or not this is, I can't see that this is a permanent fix. Let's hope that I can crack on and focus on continuing to make this school, a fantastic learning experience for the children, rather than just one where they've got flushing toilets and taps. Although I'm going to say teachers have done an amazing job, and teachers and teachers assistants of keeping the learning at the same fantastic level that it is usually.
Other dairy farmers have said that the dairies are, if not more, reliant on water than what we are, and it's in their day-to-day routines, washing down, etc. They turn around and say they're going to bring tankers, they're going to supply different lines in, etc., and that doesn't happen.
As water has returned to many areas in Kent, calls continue for South East Water boss to resign.
All water companies in the UK have the same regulation. So the question is, why is South East Water the worst performing water company in the country? And the answer to that is appalling leadership. And this is why I've been calling on the investors to sack the board and the leadership.
South East Water's incident manager, Matthew Dean, said water supplies have now been restored to the 6,500 properties in the Tunbridge Wells area. We are very sorry to every single one of our customers who have been affected. We know and understand how difficult going without water for such a long period of time is, and how difficult it makes everyday life. And as people start enjoying flowing water once again, eyes will be laser focused on the leadership of South East Water. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Tunbridge Wells.
Next, Biddenden residents say they're worried that construction trucks heading for a nearby golf course will shake their houses to bits. Chart Hills Golf Club's new driving range has new proposals put to Ashford Borough Council to remodel it, but concerns have been raised that residents will be forced to endure 30 months of the works, with a truck potentially driving by every 6 minutes. Many have also raised concerns their homes would simply not be structurally sound enough due to their age to withstand large vehicles passing by. The planning documents themselves say the proposed development would provide a range of mitigation measures to avoid a severe cumulative residential impact. A development company is facing backlash after proposing to build 154 homes in Isted Rise near Gravesend. Esquire Developments has submitted an application to Gravesham Council seeking permission to build those new homes on land south of Downs Road. Angry residents have already gathered 250 objections since Monday and are holding a public drop-in session to coordinate plans for their opposition. The site is outside the limit to build development for the area and is entirely in the Greenbelt. But Esquire argues that since it sits immediately adjacent to Eistead Rose Primary School, it is in a highly sustainable position. Next, we'll be bringing you a story about a public toilet in Chatham. It's been described by a resident as absolutely rotten, and he believes it hasn't even been cleaned for months. Those quotes come from Robert Kelly, who relies on accessible toilets. He originally complained to Medway Council all the way back in October, asking them to clean the disabled facilities at Luton Recreation. By January, he found there had been no such change. That area is used not just by locals, it's also a football pitch that is often used. So there were plenty of concerns to be raised. And Megan Shaw went down there to meet him and see the toilet for herself.
Disgusting and absolutely rotten. Not words you'd want to use to describe an accessible bathroom. But for Robert Kelly, who's disabled and relies on public loos, he's branded the ones at Luton Rec in Chatham as unusable. Strong words from a man who used to clean toilets for a living.
I've got an overactive bladder as well, but the worst one I've ever seen is this one here. It's hasn't been cleaned out. It's absolutely rotten. It's disgusting. It smells a little bit. They're not being cleaned. We're not even coming nowhere near them. And them ones in there are absolutely disgusting. You're talking the toilets are actually black. And I don't mean with dirt or anything like that, they're actually black on the inside of it.
Upon discovering the state of the accessible bathroom and seeing it was unusable, Robert rang up the council. Medway Council directed him to Medway North, who directed him back to the council. He then went into the Medway Council building and showed them the photos of what he'd seen in October. They did nothing. Now, it's been 3 months, it's now January, so let's take a look at the bathroom and see if its condition has improved. And here's what I saw when I went to the lavatory for myself. Dirty tissues strewn on the floor, an unhygienic sink, and no hand soap in sight, alongside things I'm unable to show. Although this is a major disruption to Robert's life, he's also concerned for the wider community.
Well, all I would like Medway County to do is actually do something about it, clean them down, so they're respectable for people with disabilities, especially those ones in wheelchairs, so we can actually use them and go into a clean environment rather than actually have a lot of germs, bad hygiene, because that is one of the worst ones I've ever seen. If that was one of my ones where I was working, we would have got it in the next straight away from our supervisors and our managers. That is unacceptable. It's absolutely filthy.
When I approached Medway Council, they explained, "We apologise to Mr Kelly for any inconvenience caused. A cleaner has been asked to attend as soon as possible, and the site has now been raised with the appropriate teams at the council to look into." This was on Wednesday. When I went back today on Friday with Robert, there was no change yet to be made. But we can only hope that Medway Council manages to scrub up sooner rather than later. Megan Shaw for KMTV in Chatham.
Now, flood warnings were in place along the River Medway from Forest Row to Maidstone after heavy rain yesterday. The Environment Agency is urging residents to follow their flood plans and avoid walking, cycling or driving through floodwater. This comes as river levels are high, particularly around footpaths and riverside areas in Maidstone. Authorities continue to monitor the situation and advise extra caution for anyone in affected areas. Kristen Hawthorne joins me now to tell me more. So, Kristen, where are the flood warnings in place for? And I'm aware they've very recently been altered.
Yes, so like you said there, the Met Office, or the Environment Agency, sorry, have been monitoring this throughout the day, as have I, on their website. But just before we went live here, before I joined you, they've taken the flood alert away from basically the upper, middle and lower parts of the river, and it's now just a flood alert for the upper River Medway. This was because of the heavy rain that fell yesterday, Thursday the 15th of January, that caused the 13-hour rain warning. River levels remain high, leading to flooding of low-lying land and roads, particularly around roads, especially areas of Balls Green, Ashurst and Penhurst. So those are the areas to be particularly looking out for this evening.
I see. And for anyone who lives in those areas or might be planning on travelling through those areas, what are some recommendations that they can take on board to try and stay safe?
Yes, so while the Environment Agency continues to monitor rainfall and the river levels, which have been falling over the past few hours, probably why they've now taken the alert away, they recommend taking care to avoid walking, cycling or driving through flood water. If you are in an area that's affected, make sure that you have your insurance and medications accessible and move livestock, farming equipment away from flood-prone areas.
I see. Now, tell me a bit about the levels of the water. You mentioned there, obviously, that the alert has been sort of pulled back and only restricted that upper part of the river. Tell me a bit about the levels.
Yes, so the levels have been falling. They were at their highest at around 12:45, 1 p.m. This afternoon. But so, I mean, if you were driving through those areas and you did find yourself driving through that flood water, I found some recommendations to make sure that your car is okay. So you might want to check for water in your oil, which would be a major issue, so hopefully you don't have that. Test your brakes lightly to make sure that they're okay. You might want to dry them as well, and dry out the interior to prevent mould and possibly rust as well. So a few things to do there.
I see. Thank you so much, Kristen. That's all the time we have for now. Time for a short break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now let's take a quick look at the sports news from around the county. First up, Gillingham manager Gareth Ainsworth has said there's no need to panic as the club keeps calm during the January transfer season. 2 weeks without a game, the club haven't made any moves to bring on new players, but Gillingham have said there is no need to worry, with Ainsworth claiming it's about my 30th transfer window now in football management. There's no way that you'd start panicking. The club have said the lack of games has given the backroom staff more time to look for targets to help with their goal-scoring troubles. To ice hockey now, the Invicta Dynamos beat the Solent Devils 3-0 in the National Ice Hockey League South Division 1. Coach Carl Lennon, who's still serving the second of a 4-game suspension after a bench-clearing brawl with Slough Jets, has taken a back seat, while Kevin Parrish is leading the Dynamos from the benches. Lennon said, I was quite fortunate to have a good friend and owner to help me out with Parrish back on the bench after what he thinks was 6 or 7 years away. He added that Parrish has done a fantastic job leading the team. A couple of the things he did through the management of the game were exactly my thinking, and that was reassuring. As for the players, Danny Gatenby and Luca Pascal scored in the opening period, with the second session littered with penalties, ending goalless, with the Moes adding an empty net goal to seal the late win in the third period. The Chatham Town women's team are on a record-breaking run in the FA Cup, reaching the 4th round after a memorable victory against Sutton United in the previous round. They're now preparing for their clash against York City this Sunday in hopes of acquiring a place in the last 16. But how can we encourage more members of the public to go to games and support their local women's side? Well, to answer that question, I was joined earlier with the head for Chatham's youth teams, Kelly Robinson, to tell me more about the club and its preparations. Thank you so much for joining me, Kelly. Firstly, after the women's victory against Sutton in the previous round of the Cup and the men's victory in the FA Trophy last Saturday at Carlisle, it must have put the whole club in high spirits. Tell us a bit about how the team feels right now.
Yeah, so there's a great buzz around the club at the moment. 2 massive games now to be obviously had. So this Sunday, we've got the Women FA Cup 4th round, which is obviously versus York City. Then at the end of the month, we've then got Southend United coming down for the FA Trophy. So it's huge, a huge January for the club. And the buzz around the club is something special right now.
Absolutely. And you have a lot of insight into the teams. How are the women's preparations for the upcoming clash against York going? Tell us about that.
They're good. Usual training, usual. They're not doing anything different. We're just going to go out and we're going to do exactly what we have done, and we're going to give it our all.
Absolutely. And the team have an FA Cup winning manager in Keith Bonus. How do you think that's helping the team's spirits towards this clash, which, you know, is historic for the club?
Keith is an amazing person. If anything, he's going to teach them to be humble with their wins so far, but also at the same time to go out and give everything they've got to keep the winning momentum going. Keith knows what he's doing. He is the best person who knows how to control this team and get them to where they are. So we let Keith deal with that one.
I see. The club chairman, Kevin Hake, he's urged fans to show the same amount of support for the women's game as they did for the men's last Saturday. What are some more ways that Chatham are trying to get more local fans at the women's game?
So we've gone out to all the girls' teams, the Kent FA. We're now doing Project 1000. So we want to get the highest attendance for a women's team in Kent this Sunday. We've got our own teams coming along. We've encouraged any opponents. And obviously the Kent FA have put it all over their social media. It's about everyone talking and everyone just, no matter what you're doing, if you've got the time, it's 1 o'clock, it's free entry for under 16s, because at the end of the day, it's the under 16 players that are going to build the future for Chatham, the Lionesses, all the other teams. So we really want to encourage anyone who loves football, no matter if you're men's youth, female youth, come down, and it's definitely going to be a great afternoon.
I see. And you head up a lot of the youth sides for the Chats. Tell me a bit about the atmosphere among the youth sides. Is it great for them to see that their women's team are in the FA Cup 4th round? Tell me a bit about what they've been saying.
The girls are so excited. So they've also been given the opportunity to be mascots, ball girls, you name it. We want to get them involved. A couple of well, probably over a month ago, we had the FA Cup draw actually done live at the club. The girls were so excited. It was like they'd never seen a camera crew before. They absolutely loved it. And the women's team really includes our youth. So whenever they get the opportunity to speak to a player in the youth or have a trial with them or do something with them, the women's team are just always there and they love getting involved with our youth teams.
Now it's time for a look at the weather for the coming days. A moderate night with a temperature of 8 degrees spread all over Kent tonight. The cloudy skies seen across the county. Into tomorrow morning, becoming a bit cloudier. Temperatures remaining at 8 degrees all across the region, wind speeds of 6. Into the afternoon, cloudy skies remaining again, but temperatures rising now to 9 and 10 degrees. Wind speeds staying consistent throughout the day. And here is your outlook. Looking still quite mild, 11 degrees on Sunday and Monday, with only some sun peeking out. Getting slightly milder on Tuesday, a little more sun there, but ultimately a little colder. Now, don't forget, you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about a Nigerian artist painting the feeling of migration using Formula One helmets in Rochester.
What does self-protection look like when you're new to an environment that's unfamiliar? Well, for Nigerian visual artist Abolore Sabayo, self-protection comes in the form of a helmet. In his latest art series, Reflection, Abolore explores how the helmet, or akoto in Yoruba, can be used as a metaphor for the complex realities of migration.
This exhibition is in the Royal Engineering Museum in the heart of Medway. Now, the artist has taken inspiration from Formula One helmets, which are known for being bash and colourful and full of messages from the drivers and their sponsors. In this instance, the artist uses the helmet as a way to convey his message about his perspective on migration to the Kent community.
Most of the people, when you talk about migration, focuses only on people seeking asylum, which migration for me is far beyond that. For migrants, the helmet is to protect your cultural identity while you are assimilating the new culture from where you are coming into. The helmet is a form of protection for you from the fast lane, from the new journey you're taking, the place of unknown where you're going to.
Abolore uses Nigeria, his home country, and his own personal experiences as a migrant as inspiration for some of his artwork. And in the visor of the helmet, he paints a reflection of a memory or a reality a migrant may face while living away from home. Members of the museum thought the exhibition is important to the many communities in Kent.
It's opening up this community to other people. So a lot of the idea of this space is to get people who don't have a place to display their work or to display their ideas, to give them this space within the heart of Medway. And it really opens up an audience, a new audience.
Abolore hopes that his exhibition can encourage communities to reflect on the emotional and cultural layers of migration, and to also consider what we would choose to protect when we enter the unknown. Naila Mohammed for KMTV.
Now, according to the charity Mind, people generally give up on their New Year's resolutions 2 to 3 weeks into the new year. The owner of Sisu Fitness here in Medway has been giving us some advice on how to stay consistent in our goals, especially when it comes to exercise. Our reporter Maisie Walker has more.
A New Year's resolution is a personal promise or goal people set at the start of a year to improve themselves. These resolutions often focus on building positive habits, breaking bad ones, or working toward personal growth. However, many people abandon their resolutions within just a few weeks.
Now, my New Year's resolution was to stay active, but how easy is it to actually stay motivated?
This is actually a really big problem because the gym is a scary place. If it's not your comfortable environment and you're stepping into a gym with hundreds or even thousands of people there potentially, it is overwhelming. You are going to feel uncomfortable. So my best piece of advice would either get a gym buddy you can go with, maybe visit quieter times if you can, or even go down the road of a personal trainer or things like we do here, like group coaching, where you're with, a qualified professional and they can help build your confidence in the gym so then you can potentially go on and do it yourself in the future. The biggest thing is when people join the gym in January, they're highly motivated because it is January. But motivation is a very fleeting emotion, so it comes and goes. And I think as soon as people maybe understand that you're not going to be motivated all the time, and then if you go to the gym when you're not motivated, I see that as disciplined. And that is actually what yields greater results than just relying on motivation alone.
I spoke with local residents of Rochester about their New Year's resolutions and how they're sticking to them so far.
To be a better person than I was last year, mind and body. I feel like it's something that even though you try to achieve, you won't till you let go in a way, let go of something. Like for me, it's like I need to let go of past stuff to move on with my future.
It would be to have more education for myself and to enjoy my life.
To hit 180 kg on the bench press.
My New Year's resolution is to get fitter, even because I'm more conscious of my diet and my health, even at this ripe old age that I am. So yes, as much as I can possibly do, I want to do. So